Okay, so first on the agenda is going to be the OPM report. And I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you're going to be able to see it. Let me know if you can or can't. Do you see the PowerPoint there on the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. All right, this should be brief. Let's see. Whoops. So upcoming schedule, September 7th, we received, or the City Procurement Office received contractor quals, qual packages. So the subcommittee, review committee is busy at work reviewing those qualifications, trying to weed out, vet out any contractors that we don't think can have the capacity to do this project. And on September 16th, that's tomorrow, we're planning to submit the 90% CDs to the MSBA for their package review. October 5th, that pre-qual subcommittee that I just mentioned, we're going to be completing our quals, and we will be notifying all of the contractors that passed the DCAM qualification process that they have in fact passed, and they are available and eligible to bid on this project. And then on October 19th, we would meet as a committee. At that point, we would discuss the ad alternates for this project and put them in priority. I think as we have discussed before, these need to be prioritized because you can't take, say, ad alternate 2 without taking ad alternate 1. That's a requirement of the bidding law, so that's something that we'll have to have a discussion on and decide on at that meeting before we go out to bid. And we'd also be approving the 100% construction documents and proceeding into the bidding phase of the project at that time. And then on October 21st is when we're expecting to have the construction document package completed and then submitting it to the MSBA. And then on the 26th, beginning the bidding process. That's going to be about a 2-month process, receiving subcontractor and general contractor bids. So the sort of end milestone for that would be on December 16th when we get those hard bids in hand from the GCs. Then we would be reviewing those and see what we have, see what numbers we have, and hopefully they're good ones. So I know we've talked quite a bit about the market conditions, how escalation this year has been out of control. Some CMs and estimators have estimated as much as almost 1% per month of escalation. It's been a really volatile market, and that's been reflected in our estimates over the course of the last year or so. Back in April of 2021, the estimators had this construction budget at $49.7 million, and that was the basis on which the MSBA had created their funding agreement and established their reimbursement rate. As we all know, we've talked about this a lot. And then, of course, earlier this year in March, we saw the world and a reflection of the way the world was going, and we saw a drastic increase in our estimate up to $58.1 million. And then further over on the right, back in July, we saw it go up to $61 million. And then as recently as Tuesday, we met with our estimators. Some had their cost estimator review their 90% documents, and then we Colliers on the city's behalf brought in our third-party estimator. They each produced their own independent estimates, and then we got them together in a room or a virtual room on Tuesday and spent, 4 or 5 hours or so reviewing them, comparing scope, and making sure that they had accurate and comparable estimates. And the total value that we ended up deciding on was $61.7 million. So a slight uptick in where we were back in July, nothing too drastic, but overall about a 23% increase based on where we were over a year ago. So again, reflection of the market, and we don't see this going down, the market that is. Typically public construction costs, when things go up, that basically establishes a new floor. It doesn't just suddenly, the bubble doesn't just suddenly burst. So as we've said many times, timing is of the essence. We're really trying to push this thing forward and get this thing out on the streets and get some bids in hand. So I do have a breakdown there underneath, 61.7 in construction costs, and then we have just over 10 million in soft costs. That's OPM, architect fees, etc. And so that gives us a total project budget of $71.9 million. We do factor in $5 million for contingency. That's both for construction issues that arise and also the owner's discretion. And up to about $925,000 is potentially reimbursable through the MSBA. So that's the high-level overview of where we're at as far as the overall project budget. Do you folks have any questions? And Bob, I don't know if it's worth noting to the committee last night's events, some good news.
Yeah, well, I first probably I do want to thank you, Diana, Tony, and Ed for being present either virtually or in person. I think the conversation last night, by and large, from the City Council was positive and supportive of what we're trying to do here with Crocker. No surprise on some of the questions in regards to just overall project cost inflation. But I was relieved that the council really did support this unanimously. And I did have a call from one of the council members who, if you remember, he spoke about the order of the alternates, and because he had been on the Fitchburg High School building committee 22 years ago, and just wanted to make sure that as we look at the air conditioning specifically, that we appropriately prioritize them, because that will be important as we go forward. But again, Diana, Ed, John, thank you for being there. And I think it's important, and it was important. And again, we're just clicking off another milestone. And again, I know in communities, probably this conversation doesn't always maybe go in the affirmative direction.
It's true. Very true.
So I guess, the only comment I would say about the estimate, John, is that, again, I don't know if we're now down to a 1% inflation per quarter. I'm being a little facetious, but clearly it looks like maybe the rate of increase may have slowed, or, in that the period of maybe, mid-year 21 to mid-year 22 was really from 21 to 22 was when things really went off the deep end in terms of inflation. And
yeah. I think you're right that we might be approaching a plateau. To the best of our experts' knowledge, we do think that probably this 8 to 9, so maybe 8 to 9% on average escalation that they're seeing might probably continue through the end of this year, and then it will probably drop back down to a more normal 4 to 5% after that. But yeah, you're right that I think that it probably is going to start to plateau.
So I think, the only question I have, and it's really maybe on the prior slide, and, this is just because I've never gone through a core project, and, in terms of the qualification of the subs GCs, I don't know if you're playing, you can maybe talk a little bit about that process, and, and how we as the committee then will review the GCs versus the subs. And just, again, if you can just clarify that, because now that we're getting closer to it, it's more real, right?
More real. Yeah. The pre-qualification process is something it's mandated by DCAM. It's very prescriptive. And the idea is that we want to make sure that the bids, these are hard bids that you select the lowest bid. So we want to make sure that the pool of candidates are qualified and capable to do the scope of project. So the intent behind the pre-qualification process is to review the quals that they submit, and the categories for review are length of ownership and length of experience with an amount of experience with this type of project, the financial capability to pull off a project like this. It includes project references with previous owners. I'm trying to think, and so basically it's a point scoring system, that DCAM is set up with the idea that we're weeding out any potential problem contractors that don't have experience with a $50+ million job, people that don't have the financial capability and the means and the resources to do this kind of work. But generally speaking, the contractors that we do see submit quals for projects like this, they do know what they're doing. In the aggregate, it's rare that you'll get contractors that don't that submit quals that don't qualify. That you might get a small handful, 2 or 3 at the most, because generally speaking, they know what they're doing. They know the market. They've done this before. So what we're just trying to do is weed out any of those I don't know, the occasional outlier, that doesn't really belong in the pool.
So if this was like hopefully this metaphor doesn't sound too hokey, but if this was the Bachelor or the Bachelorette at this point, pretty much everyone's getting a rose unless they're really shouldn't be on the show.
Yeah.
And this isn't the final rose ceremony. That's going to happen in December.
That happens in December when the numbers come in. We have to take the lowest bid, unless it turns out that the lowest bid for whatever reason, based on a couple of issues or a couple of criteria, unless that lowest bidder, there's reason that we might suspect that they are not a responsible bidder. But again, that's rare as well. Because there's only a few general contractors in this market that do this kind of work, and we know them all. So it's unlikely for a project of this scale and this type that we're going to get one of those as a general contractor.
So really the next estimate that we get in terms of 90% construction documents, but basically once the 100% construction documents go out to bid, the next estimate we're going to get is going to be the quote.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
So we're getting there.
Yep.
So next on the agenda would be the vote to approve the submission to the MSBA. This is their periodic check-in of where the contract documents are and where the project is as a whole. We had told them that we would submit tomorrow, and as is required, we would ask the committee. And just as a note, Colliers and the commissioning agent that the MSBA has hired as a third-party commissioning agent has been reviewing the contract documents throughout this whole process, just to evaluate their readiness. And we would recommend to the committee that you would vote to approve the documents to be sent to the MSBA. So at this time, if you would, I'd ask for a vote to approve the submission.
I'll make a motion to approve the 90% construction documents for submission to the MSBA. Do I have a second?
Second. Second.
Third.
Fourth.
All those in favor? Do we need to do a roll call, John, because of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do a roll call vote. Who seconded that motion? Just for my notes.
I tried.
Mr. Bolak.
Casey
All
Bolak.
right. Thank you. And now the roll call. I've got the list here. Let's see.
So I guess John Thompson.
Yes.
I think Jeremy. Are you remember? I think
Yes,
no.
and yes.
Is Mr. Shalafo is still here?
I don't think he's a voting member anymore.
Is he a voting member? Or not
No
anymore?
longer.
No longer.
Yeah.
What else do we have here? I'm trying to see on my screen here, John. I'm just like.
I think Mr. Karlstad is.
Yeah, Russ is a member.
He is. Yep.
Yes.
So is that 5?
Russ, Casey,
Jeremy.
Jonathan,
Myself.
Jeremy, and yep, that's it.
That's 5.
Got it.
Okay.
All right. And I think we're coming to a close here. Yeah. So next meeting, to keep things moving, I had tentatively I'm tentatively suggesting October 19th is our next committee meeting. That's when we would we discuss the final documents, add alternates, and proceed to bidding, voting to proceed to bidding at that point. So I would like to, if Diana, Ed, if you had anything you wanted to add before we wrap the meeting up. Not that you need to. I just wanted to open it up to you as the design team.
Diane, I don't know if you do. I have nothing else to add, but I thought last night was an encouraging meeting and was happy to see it and be part of it.
Yeah, it was a great meeting. I mean, I feel like the comments were on balance very positive. The other thing I just wanted to mention or sort of ask about again, I had talked to Superintendent Chocola about coming up and presenting to some students, about the school, just to sort of let them know. I mean, it might just be through the third grade, since the other grades won't be in that building, or would it even be third? Or you can invite any students you want to. But, we would like to do some kind of interactive discussion about what their new school is going to look like. If you're open to that, or if you have ideas of what that might look like, we're happy to work with you on what it could be.
Yeah, I would say we're open. Case, I defer to you, but I think also just thinking of STEM careers, or construction project management careers. Jeremy, as a former high school principal, I don't know if this would be an opportunity maybe for some. Well, I guess it'd probably be sophomores now, right, or freshmen. I guess 3 years would be. 2, 3 freshman or sophomore, right?
Well, and with that budding program down on River Street too.
Right. So there may be a program that Fitchburg collaborates with the local Voc Tech School that in 2 years, students who are freshmen and sophomore could be participating in either a home carpentry or home electrical or an electrical course at the local Voc Tech School. But I think myself and one of the new guidance counselors from the high school attended a meeting this morning, Chamber of Commerce, and just like the need for all types of professionals going forward. So I'm sure that, architecture is not immune from that workforce challenge as well, right?
It's true.
So.
Yeah, so we can talk about that too.
Yeah. So, I'd be open, maybe in a smaller group, Diana with Casey, and, we could get our district STEM director and maybe somebody from the high school too, to just explore that option.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we'll follow up and set up a time to talk.
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm in.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
All right.
Anyone else? Any other questions or comments? I do see Mary Delaney just joined, and I just wanted to take a chance to just thank her and her office for all of the work that they've been doing, assisting with the pre-qualification process. So Collier's and her office are working closely. It's a heavy lift. It's a lot of work, but it's important, and I just wanted to give a quick thank you.
Thank you, John.
Of course. So we have nothing else, Mr. Chairman. Unless there's any other questions or comments, that's
I guess,
it.
yeah. If there are no other questions or comments, we'll meet again in October 19th or 20th. Did you say?
I said 19th.
19th. Okay.
Wednesday.
Great. And offline, Diana, Casey, myself, and maybe some others will talk about how we can bring the students involved in this project too. So, I guess Ed, you were safe with your flat tire and all that late yesterday.
I got it fixed this morning. Thank you. Sorry about that, but yes, it's all good.
It happens. As long as you're safe.
I know it sounded very convenient. I have a receipt if anyone's.
I'd like to give you some of my receipts when that happens too. So. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and have a
Recording
good
stopped.
rest of the day.